Hey everyone, welcome back to the next part of our Iceland Ring Road Trip. In this video we'll be covering from Egilsstaðir to Seydisfjordur in the east part of the country.
We started our day with a 40-minute drive from Egilsstaðir up to the fishing town of Höp. This leg of the journey we split over 2 days as it was new territory for us and therefore we wanted to really maximise the time we had at the sites.
One of our first stops was a little further up from Höp, the renowned photography spot Vestrahorn. Coming off the ring road, the road isn't paved and can get a little bumpy, but you can drive right to the end to get photos of the mountainscape over the lagoon.
It's easy to see why Vestrahorn is a bucket list photo stop for any photographer in Iceland. The jagged mountainscape comes out of the ground as if from nowhere over the black sand beach, providing some fantastic photo opportunities year round.
The weather can be super unpredictable in Iceland and it gets very windy here. The sand gets absolutely everywhere.
Be super careful if you plan on flying a drone as those sandstorms will definitely take it down. Also on site is a Viking village set up to be previously used as part of a movie set. It's definitely worth the stop if you have the opportunity.
Be sure to check out the Viking cafe and try one of their beautifully shaped vafla and their amazing pecan pie.
Having finished up at Vestrahorn and back on the Route 1, one of the things that we immediately come to was probably the longest underground tunnel we have driven through before. Coming from the UK, we don't normally have them this long and it was certainly quite an interesting ride. Make sure to drop us a like, leave some feedback in the comments and subscribe for future top tips and tricks.
As you can see, it feels like it went on forever. Shortly after the tunnel, we stopped off at an unmarked waterfall, Seydisfjordur. It was evident the weather was changing as we drove north up the east coast as we got battered by the wind. One of the next stops you'll come to is something a little different, a red chair statue right by the side of the road. A little bit quirky, but worth a stop if you're interested.
I'm not entirely sure why Nikki wanted to take 50 different photos of a red chair statue, but it gave me a couple of minutes to have a relax from driving whilst I was also planning out our next stop, and a bit of entertainment while I did so. Not your average photographer stance. Once we got over the super excitement of the red chair, we made our way further north to the Vágs lighthouse. As with any road in Iceland, once you come off the main road it can be particularly bumpy, so be careful when you're taking any extra roads. Whilst the lighthouse itself is cool, the main event here is Eystrahorn. Similar in nature to that of Vestrahorn further south, this rugged mountainscape is absolutely phenomenal for photographers. On a small peninsula in eastern Iceland, the little fishing town of Djúpivogur is a great place to stop if you want to grab some lunch or just stretch your legs. Albeit, we may have forgotten to record that part, so we're moving swiftly on.
Shortly after Pyramid Mountain, you have the option to take Road 939 as a shortcut towards Egilsstaðir.
Along Road 939, there's also a number of smaller waterfalls providing some great stopping points. First up is the small waterfall of Hengifoss. With a decent parking and picnic spot, it's a lovely little place to stop and admire the waterfall as it drops from the rocks down into the icy blue pool. When researching, we identified that 939 is a road only typically open in the summer. Having driven it, we can now see why. This mountain pass is loosely gravelled and therefore can be particularly daunting, especially when you're driving in the slippery and the wet conditions. Whilst not officially an F-road, because of the surface quality of the road with all the potholes, we'd highly recommend using a 4x4 if you have the option to drive this.
We wouldn't recommend to drive it if you are less confident or unnerved by heights, as there are a number of sharp mountain bends with no railings and narrow passing points.
Arriving in Egilsstaðir after that white knuckle ride up the 939, there's immediately a few places that you might want to stop at, such as the Orkan petrol station and Bonus to pick up some extra supplies.
There's also a Vindbjudin if you need a strong drink at your hotel after that drive.
Just when we thought the worst of the driving was done, the route up to Seydisfjordur was just as bad, if not worse, with the really limited visibility driving up the mountain roads. At least this road was a little bit more paved though.
As the fog had lifted, we were then able to see the sharp bends coming down the mountain into the town.
This small port town on the coast of East Iceland is famous for not only featuring in some Hollywood blockbusters, but also for its iconic church that has captured social media by storm.
The little town of Seydisfjordur is full of character, with its colourful buildings and quirky hotel options. We stayed in a converted old bank located next to the cute blue church at the end of the Rainbow Road, a sentence that we never thought we'd ever say.
Having been eager to get into the town, coming down the mountain pass, we'd completely missed on our way in that there were a couple of cool little waterfalls to stop at. It was also interesting to see just how much we'd missed driving to Seydisfjordur the day before because of the low visibility, seeing things on the way back that we never knew were even there when we were driving there. Arriving back in Egilsstaðir, as this was the main connecting point for Seydisfjordur, we made sure to fill up, as anywhere outside of the main towns it could be unpredictable as to how long it may be before you pass a petrol stop.
Our first stop of the day was to Hengifoss waterfall. This included a scenic drive along the Lagerflöt River.
Arriving at Hengifoss, it was evident that they'd recently re-renovated the car park but also built a new toilet block, which was great to be able to use before taking the hike up to the waterfall. It has to be said, when researching online, it says that it averages to take 1 hour and 53 minutes to get up to the waterfall and back, and that only the first part of the hike is steep. Having hiked it ourselves, we can categorically say the majority of the hike is steep, but it's much easier coming back down.
But as you can see, when the weather is clear, you get an amazing view of the volcanic red layers of clay in the cliff behind the waterfall.
Once we'd thawed out from our hike up to the waterfall, we began our journey to Stuthlegil Canyon further in the north.
Once again, the 4x4 came in handy as the road was terrible. Also, be mindful of the wildlife, as there are plenty of sheep happy to linger in the road.
You'll first arrive at a small car park next to a bridge, which is where you can park, but it will take a good hour to walk to the canyon. Crossing over this bridge and turning right will take you to the second car park, which then reduces the hike to about 30 minutes.
After seeing the many videos online of the beautifully blue waters running through the canyon, we took a detour to see it.
Sadly, due to the amount of rain they'd had, instead of the beautiful blue river, all we were met with was a murky brown river flowing through the canyon instead. If anything, it just gives us another reason to go back. Make sure to join us in part 4 of our Icelandic Ring Road adventure as we tackle the snow-capped mountains,
having a snowball fight in August,
and driving further on through Mývatn up to Akureyri.
Thanks for watching, we'll see you in the next video.